being an Uber driver, effectively, I sit a lot and wait. And I'm doing that right now in a car park somewhere. All right, so I've got about 10 minutes to spare. So I was listening to the radio just now, and I heard that John Howard has made a passionate speech for the protection of our gun laws. So I can turn that into an episode. All right. So he sounds like an activist there, and I think he is. I think activism is a good thing, and whether you're a conservative like John Howard or a progressive like Julia Gillard, another one of our prime ministers, you tend still to be an activist. So I don't think being an activist is a bad thing. I think conservatives are progressives, and I think progressives are too, and progressives can be pretty conservative too, probably. Haven't really thought that one through. But I imagine if progressives got everything they wanted and got the world into a shape that they liked, and wanted to preserve that, would that make them conservatives at that point? They want to conserve that which they have achieved. Or would they want to keep changing? Are they wired for change? Or is someone like Julia Gillard trying to get to a certain point? I think she's something of a socialist. All right, so imagine she achieves socialism of some sort. I'm a socialist too, in very big ways. For example, I'm a big fan of Australia's socialist health system and Australia's socialist educational system. Someone used to send me clips of a couple of American conservative comedians, but conservatives nonetheless, and activists too, who railed against Obamacare. They're Americans, but Obamacare, and they said that Obamacare was, would definitely put America on the slippery slope to Stalinism, something like that, total Lenin Marxism or whatever. And as far as I could tell, when it came to Obamacare, which is called something else, the Affordable Health Act or something, Obama never called it Obamacare. As far as I could tell, it wasn't an attempt to turn America socialist. It was an attempt to get the balance right, because every country really, I think every country is a kind of balance between everything: capitalism, socialism, so on and so forth. Even America's a bit socialist. So people who, it's what percentage of each ideology you want, and it's what is the optimal ideology? Well, I think Australia's got it pretty right, but not perfect, as we always say. Something like Obamacare was probably, as far as I could tell, trying to, America was out of whack when it just is. I'm actually in the car park. I wasn't intending to talk about this, of Peter MacCallum Hospital in Melbourne, cancer centre and all that sort of thing. Surely there's, and I can see there's a woman right there hopping out of her car and walking very slowly. She's obviously got cancer. A woman right there, I could turn the thing around, but that wouldn't be very nice. She's got her husband there, and the car doesn't look that expensive. It's a Volkswagen, but it looks like 15 years old or so. It really does. And I would say they're going up there for some very expensive treatment, and I bet they haven't paid for it. And that's socialist healthcare. That's a good thing, And I've got people up there too, but that's not what this episode's about. Now, I don't even know what I was talking about. I was talking about prime ministers. So I was talking about John Howard. and so on. Okay, so I think prime ministers, I don't even know how I got to all of that. I think they become activists, and that's how I got to all of that. Activism is not a bad thing, Yes, I started to wonder. I know where I was wandering. Do progressives become conservatives by definition if they get what they want, and so on and so forth? All right, that'd be a different episode. All right, look, I'll wrap it up because I just got a text. I can see texts as I'm speaking coming through. They're on the side of my phone, and they pop up as a notification. And all right, so prime ministers become activists, my sense is, I only hear what I hear, that John Howard, they've all become activists, all our ex-prime ministers. Now, what have they become? I think Julia Gillard, as far as I've heard, I'm sure she has many more interests than the interests I hear reported in the media, because you only hear whatever the media wants to tell you and all that sort of thing. Or I don't think it's that much of a conspiracy. Whatever the media thinks might be interesting to you, if Julia Gillard's going to talk about superannuation, well, that's not going to sell papers because it's boring. So when she talks about women's issues, that's interesting. So it's not all conspiracy. It's about what we want to hear, So Julia Gillard, I think she's become primarily an activist for women's issues, but I do remember her talking a bit about mental health as well, and Jeff Kennett went into that as well. So there you have someone who's a liberal, Jeff Kennett, but also someone who's Labor. Okay. So now Tony Abbott has become an activist for the preservation of the Western world, and in particular the Commonwealth. I think that's fair to say. John Howard the same, but John Howard's also got this other pet activism item of gun control. Who else have we got? Our biggest one is Kevin Rudd. He's the biggest deal on the world stage by far. I don't think this, I'll just come out and sort of claim that. He's just huge on the world stage. I hear him all the time on the BBC, on everything, Reuters, everything. He's just, if his activism is big, large scale, not bad for a bloke who, as a kid, had to sleep in a Volkswagen, older than that one, because, that's a whole story, but, he was homeless for a while, and he ends up being one of the biggest deals in the world. You don't get that in America very often. You have to have you can't pull yourself up out of the gutter in America and become president. I've got to go now. Turnbull, can't remember anything I don't know what he's on about. I don't know what his big vision is. He wants to be a Republican, and here we go. My people are coming. Can I think of any other prime ministers quickly? Who else have we had? Keating, superannuation. All right, that's it.